Hi, and thank you for joining my channel. My name is Mandy Froelich, and I wear a lot of hats. Honestly, I have quite a few websites and businesses, and I've made this channel sort of the hub of it all, and I've renamed it The Catalyst because, in many ways, I feel like my purpose and what I'm really good at is catalyzing positive change in other people's lives. And I'll give you a little bit of insight on this as well. So for the first 8.5 or so years of my career, I worked as a holistic nutritionist, a chef, a reflexologist, ACE certified personal trainer, massage therapist, and did some other modalities thrown in there as well too. And that really was fantastic for me because learning how to help others heal helped me realize how I could heal as well too. And of course, that's where the journey originated, isn't it? Because what we teach others, we often need to learn ourselves. So learning about holistic healing and utilizing food as medicine was absolutely transformative, and I'm so grateful for the experiences because I was able to live abroad for almost 5 years, a couple years in Costa Rica, Thailand, Africa, spent some time in Bali as well. It was absolutely a dream. And so I taught the food as medicine approach, and I did some freelance writing and editing on the side and just had a fun little business, and I enjoyed what I did. But after a while, I learned, and I just realized, I guess, that it's not as fun when you're alone. It's just not. And, I think the purpose of life is really to spend it with others and to grow family and to spend time with people you love. And so eventually I said, you know what? I guess I'm gonna go back to the US and I'm gonna move back closer to my family and go back to school and maybe get more of a functional life that's not so much rooted in living abroad, I suppose, see how I can contribute to society in the United States. And with my background as a holistic nutritionist and a chef primarily, and wanting to bring food as medicine information to America, I was very excited to see what sort of businesses I could create. So from, healthy bakeries and eateries to food trucks and maybe some other things, I was just very fired up. But what I learned really quickly after moving back to the States and not working with as many privileged foreigners, I suppose, who are traveling around the world, was that people don't need to be told that they need to eat more fruits and vegetables, okay? People know that they want to feel better, and that if they took a little bit more care of themselves, they probably would feel better. But you know what actually prevents a lot of people from actualizing on the advice they're given, or being able to go to the yoga class, or go to the smoothie shop, or invest in some new tech that's gonna help them get healthier at home? That's right, it's financial distress. It's the lingering and looming debt that just weighs on your shoulders. It's the concern of what if? What if something unexpected happens? What if my loved one or my parent needs long-term assisted skilled medicine and nursing care inside the home? Oh man, what if somebody passes and there's all this mess in terms of there's assets that are in other names and titles that haven't been transferred, and what does that probate process look like? And it just became very clear to me that the financial duress that most people experience, and this includes business owners, because I love working with business owners, really is one of the biggest challenges for us individually and collectively to actualize on the change we want to see. So I'm so passionate about the food system and healthier living and eating. And I've often wondered, why aren't there more greenhouses? Why aren't there more businesses and options and affordable opportunities for people? And really it goes back to a systematic discussion in the sense of what foods are subsidized by the US government, that's corn, wheat, and soy primarily. What, is most of that used for livestock? The answer is yes. Where is the rest of that food going? Well, it's going into processed foods and whatnot. And that's why those foods are the cheapest, right? So there's a lot of systematic issues that need to be resolved as well, but those definitely aren't helping the average individual and their family be able to afford healthy, good, nourishing food. And so to me, as someone who's always been interested in business development and has always loved math, trigonometry and AP calculus were my jam, love it. It became very clear to me about 8 or 9 years into my career. I was like, I think it's time for a career switch. I've always wanted to work in business and finance, and I think I could do a really good job helping people position themselves into a lifestyle where they can afford what they need, where they can understand how to navigate the system. And then even more exciting, as business owners, as change makers, they will be positioned having built a very healthy financial foundation to be able to actualize their goals and dreams and help change this world for the better, right? Woo! So that quest essentially began about 3 years ago, and I totally switched gears. I had moved back to Colorado with my husband, or now husband, we were just dating at the time, and decided to start pursuing my degree in business and accounting. And around the time that I was ready to graduate, I was scouted by this awesome firm called the Wealth Store, and they have taught me so much about the foundational planning that I share on this channel, specifically my Black Hills Financial Planning channel. And it's absolutely transformative information. It ranges from teaching people, how to actually get out of debt in under 9 years or less, not consolidating it, not cutting up their credit cards and eating beans and rice for 3 years, but truly learning the best strategies in the US right now that the world's elite have been using for years with some very secure chassis, so to speak, to be able to meet their goals and pay less in compounding interest and taxes. And I know some people are like, wow, this is so boring. But I have to say, seeing this work in people's lives is so exciting. It's so absolutely exciting, because I can tell you there are business owners I've met with who they have big visions. They want to change the world and they just don't know where to start. So with the help of my team, because Black Hills Financial Planning is a partner firm with the Wealth Store, so we have access to 70 plus years of experience and all of the tools and resources and attorneys and CPAs that are built into this wonderful company. We're able to help people put plans in place and access the support and education they need. And the best thing about this is everything is education based. So I just get to host events and workshops and teach people about all of this information, and whether they choose to work with me or not, I know that I'm doing good work because I am empowering people to be the change they want to see. And then when they come back, because a lot of them often do, they're inspired because they've learned information that they've never been exposed to, and it's just so powerful. So for like a young couple paying off their debt, and that includes mortgages and a couple cars and even part of their businesses, actually all of their business, within 5 to 6 years, when they were on track to pay it off within 30 to 40 years, that's just game changing. And it's so powerful because everything we provide are guarantees. We provide cash flow analysis, and we really teach people, what are these products and strategies available to them? What does it look like if they're going to utilize the different chassis available? And then if they stay committed and they follow their planning, what their financial future will look like, guaranteed, with contract guarantees, because that's how these products and strategies that we work with operate. Yeah, so I find that supporting people in their financial success, although some might find it kind of boring, I find it so fascinating, and it's absolutely transformative because, again, from an elderly lady who maybe has lived on her own for a few years with her husband having passed, not sure how she's going to survive on a fixed income, and we're able to find monies within the system and show her how to use what she's already got, to younger couples who are paying off their houses and preparing to have families, to business owners that are just breaking that ceiling in terms of exceeding their goals and just crushing limitations. It is so exciting, you guys. So yeah, I just wanted to provide a little bit of insight here, because it's not often you meet a financial planner who has a holistic wellness background, but I'm honestly very proud of it, because what I've learned working with people in the Black Hills, South Dakota area specifically, is that I love to support healers. I love to support good-hearted people who just want to live good lives, who want to take care of their families, and who want to actualize on their dreams and goals, and they're willing to put in the work to make it happen. And healing the healers is just, spending so much time as a healer myself, it's very lovely. Empowering them to move forward with their businesses, protect themselves from litigation, pay less in taxes in terms of, you don't need to pay more than what you owe to Uncle Sam, but people just aren't taught how to use tax shelters and move funds around and empower themselves through the money that they are able to attain. And it's fantastic. And the thing is most people don't realize that the average American during their working lifetime, that's age 18 to 65, is going to earn roughly $2 million, okay? That's $2 million that you have to be very strategic with in determining how are you going to make this work for you and meet your goals. And it becomes even more mind-blowing when you realize that that statistic hasn't changed in over 30 years, including with inflation. So collectively, we need to make our money go a lot further than it does. And that's where the foundational planning that we teach is so imperative. So I teach 4 pillars. First is debt elimination, because if you're just trying to get ahead and you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, it's very difficult to be able to get that footing that you need. So we teach people, we help them get out of debt, and it's the first and most important pillar in my opinion. Not the most important, but it's very important. Because 2/3 of marriages that end in divorce are largely caused by financial stress. It doesn't need to be that way. We can teach people how to improve their lives and utilize what they have and not worry so much. The second pillar is estate planning. So estate planning is all about protecting your assets, putting a plan in place in the event of incapacitation, and reducing taxes through avoiding capital gains, because it's pretty cool how you can essentially retitle assets into the trust and then give them to heirs, and they get taxed based on the value of the asset the day you bought it, not the day they receive it. Pretty darn cool. And it also helps you put in place vital documents like durable powers of attorney, which most people don't know that if you go to a lawyer and you ask them to just draft up a standard will and powers of attorney, if they draft up a standard power of attorney, that has to be updated every 3 to 5 years depending upon the state. Most people aren't taught that, right? And so, there's been so many folks who they'll have a will drawn up and then 10, 12, 13 years later, they pass away and their family finds it in a shoebox and it's not valid because it hasn't been updated. And that's one of the ways that lawyers just continue to get more fees and push families toward what's called the probate process. Part of what I do now is I teach people how to avoid that probate process, which is 100% avoidable. Probate just means to prove in Latin. So that's when the court and the lawyers get involved to essentially prove the validity of the will, and it opens it up for anyone to contest it. They can go down to the county courthouse and for $15 get a copy of that will and contest it in court. So it takes all of the control out of the individual's hands, and it's very, very expensive for the family. It's between 6 to 18% of the value of an estate, depending upon the state and of course the attorneys you work with and how long that process goes. And unlike an estate plan where you can settle an estate in 60 days, and part of that is the mandatory 30 days, which you have to essentially declare the estate being resolved so that creditors can contact you and get what's theirs. Most probate cases last between 6 to 18 months. And people don't know that if you have assets in any other state, like land, for instance, you have to go through probate in those states as well, too. So it's absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely avoidable. Part of that estate planning process is putting durable powers of attorney in place. So you just heard me rant about standard powers of attorney. Durable means you never have to update them again. And when we help create these estate plans for people, it's not a one and done good luck. We are with you in it for the long haul. We will train your successor trustees. It's all part of a one-time cost. Over the years, if you have any documents that need to be updated, reach out to us, our team. We will help you retitle those assets, deeds, change beneficiaries, you name it. So there's a lot of service that's provided in the estate planning, and it's one of the reasons I love it as well too, because every single family needs it. All right, the third pillar is guaranteed retirement, because most people are not retiring with the amount that they want, and they're working far later than they expected because of poor planning, let's just be honest. And unfortunately, a lot of that stems from being sold a lie with the 401k retirement plans and the simple IRAs and the like. And so with 401k specifically, you'll hear me rant about this every now and again, on and off, because they do not provide the protections and the planning that people are expecting. Being risked in the market, having to pay, probably at least a quarter of that to Uncle Sam, having a partner in that 401k because you are partnered with the government in that, no guarantee of a 401k match and the inability to access it until you're 59 and a half makes it a very limiting retirement vessel for most people. But most people weren't taught this, because after the Great Depression, 401ks were introduced to get people back into the stock market. Did you learn about that in school? No, I didn't either. Isn't that crazy? So, we'll teach people how to diversify into retirement options that are actually going to guarantee what they want, whether it's just accelerated cash growth, or it's investing in precious metals that historically have always done well, or looking into things called fixed index and guaranteed annuities, which never participate in a down market and have a lot of potential for growth, or they have riders so that if you lose 2 out of your 6 activities of daily living, which means you can't bathe yourself, feed yourself, transfer yourself, etc., there is a doubler for care money. There's additional funds available, essentially. And so it's really about learning what tools and strategies are available, and then determining, where do you want to put your money? What makes most sense? What are you going to need later in life? What's your family history? What are your goals? And that's where a financial planner comes in to help, because it's a lot to navigate, but our team is staying on it in terms of understanding, what changes are happening in the economy right now, what changes are happening with litigation and legislation in terms of what are we allowed to do. And it's very helpful to have that support, I think. Okay. And lastly, the 4th pillar is long-term care money, or just emergency care money. So this one, I'm very, very passionate about this, because I think that less than 25% of people have adequately planned for medical care money, which 90% of us are going to need later in life. So for most people, at some point, they're going to need some skilled assisted nursing care. In-home assisted skilled nursing care is roughly $65,000 per year, whereas facilities for the same service are roughly $90,000 per year. Something I want you to chew on here is the fact that, that figure I told you earlier about the $2 million passing through your hands? Yeah. Most baby boomers right now are retiring with roughly $65,000 in savings and over $200,000 in debt. So that is not the American dream. That is not the retirement a lot of people were planning on or were promised. And it's honestly quite upsetting. And I fully understand that and agree, because how are you supposed to pay for medical care money if you're just relying on a fixed income and a little bit in savings? So this 4th portion is something that we build into all of our planning. So whether an individual, let's say a mom, has some issues and complications giving birth, to being 70 years old and needing some long-term care money for in-home skilled assisted nursing care, there are options available. We have funds built into these plans, so once you medically qualify, you lose 2 out of your 6 ADLs, the funds kick in, and you have the money you need, or your parents need, or your grandparents need, to be able to get the care that they require. To me, that is so important, because personally, both of my grandparents on my mom's side, with my grandma, she wasn't doing well for the last 6 years of her life. And thank God, we have a beautiful Catholic family that came together and provided a lot of care. But it honestly wasn't enough, and it taxed everyone to the point where it was almost like a business transaction, right? It's my shift, I'll go, I'll help take care of mom, take her to the restroom, all these things. And it dehumanized the situation a bit. It reduced the quality of life for both grandparents and the people who went to visit them, and it's just not necessary. And I hate to say that, because it's probably gonna make some people feel sad, but that's the reality, right? We wanna be there for our family, we wanna help them out, but realistically, we can't quit our jobs and or give up all aspects of our life to be able to be that skilled assisted nursing care. We need to pay the professionals who know what they're doing, who are able to lift individuals, because I know that, for instance, like if something were to happen to my dad, my mom would not be able to lift him by herself. And it's just things like that you got to think about. There's going to be a need, and so we want to plan for that as well too. And all of these 4 pillars that I've been talking about, these are the 4 pillars for foundational planning. So this is the idea that these are the 4 pillars, 4 things that each and every single one of us needs to be able to create great financial health. And compare it to an analogy, if you're going to build a house, would you start with a crumbly and cracked foundation? the answer is absolutely not. That would be a waste of your time and you're gonna have to redo it again in another 10 or 20 years. So in the same sense that you are making financial planning decisions, I think it's very beneficial to work with a team like us who doesn't charge anything up front. There's no obligation to get a free cash flow analysis and really see, what does your current planning look like today? And then what does it look like when we compare it to some of the other strategies available to you? Again, no cost, no obligation. It's about education and empowering you to understand what you actually have on the table so that in 20 or 30 years, you're not regretting it. You just feel confident and comfortable knowing that you put the right plan in place. So yeah, I know this has been a really long video, but I appreciate you guys hanging in there and listening, because this is essentially the evolution of transitioning from solely a holistic healer into someone who wants to help catalyze solutions, and having financial freedom, having the ability to do what you want, to protect your assets, to take care of your family, to actualize on your dreams and your goals is, it's priceless. It truly is. And so that's something that I've worked my entire life for, and I'm so grateful to be able to have the team that I do and run the firm and have these wonderful client meetings. And every day I feel so blessed when I get to meet the people that I do and be opened up and trusted with this vital information as I help guide them along the path. And it's a path I didn't necessarily see, but I always felt it might be around the corner for me as well too. So I hope this video has been informative at the very least. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. I'm going to leave the link to my website, Black Hills Financial Planning. And if you have any questions whatsoever, please just reach out. I'm always very happy to speak with anyone on anything. And yeah, I think transparency and education are great tools. So have a wonderful day. Bye.